Hey, I've taken all the legwork out of the equation for you. I've broken down best to worst nuts, and I've broken them down in a tiered approach. Tier 1, Tier 2, Tier 3, Tier 4, and I'm going to give you the breakdown as to why they fall into these given tiers. Now, this isn't just for keto or low carb. This really serves a purpose throughout the entire dietary pattern spectrum. But if you're on keto or low carb, then obviously nuts are probably a little bit more of a staple for you, so you want to pay a bit more attention to this. Now, this is revised for 2020. Okay, part of my mission is to make sure that I'm always bringing forth accurate and new information. That means sometimes I have to make changes. Okay, now there's not a whole lot of changes, but a couple years ago I did a similar video, and there's just a couple things that have been shuffled, but now I can go in more depth to justify why for 2020 we want to be focusing on some slightly different things, okay? There's just new bodies of evidence. So I want to dive right into this, but please, first, before I get started, can you please make sure you hit that red subscribe button and then hit that little bell icon. That way you turn on notifications, and I just appreciate you subscribing. I put out tons of content, and I really want people to see it. So here we go. Okay, we're gonna start with nuts, and then we're gonna do a little kind of afterthought on seeds, and I'll explain why. Okay, the first one, Tier 1. These are the nuts that you can, I think, have a lot of, again, calories in mind. So I've broken this down by the nut, how many nuts per serving, the macros, okay, your number of omega-6s, and the reason that I put omega-6s in there is because it's easy to say, oh, this nut has a bunch of omega-3s, but the amount of omega-3s in nuts is so small, it's negligible anyway, so it's better for us to focus on how much omega-6s there are, which is a negative thing. Then we've got monounsaturated fatty acids, which I will talk about as we get down the line. Phytates. Phytic acid, phytates, these are actually things that restrict how the minerals get absorbed. So that comes into our equation. Okay, then specific notes. So we'll go on down the line with each setup. So macadamia nuts, top of Tier 1. Okay, why are they top of Tier 1? Well, first of all, nuts per serving, a nice amount, 10 to 11 nuts per serving. The macros are great though. Okay, this is what really puts it in its own league too. 22 grams of fat, 2 grams of protein, and 1.5 grams of carbs. That's pretty amazing for a nut. Trace amounts of omega-6s. You can hardly even detect the omega-6s in these. That is what makes it powerful. But here's the big winner. 78% monounsaturated fats, palmitoleic acid, which converts into oleoethylenamide, okay, so OEA. OEA has been shown to have tremendous benefits. We'll talk about in a second. Phytic acid, very low, almost not even detectable. So that means the minerals and the vitamins that you're getting out of macadamia nuts and the foods you're eating along with macadamia nuts, the vitamins get absorbed. But the palmitoleic acid, so there's some studies that show that it actually reduces the effect of glucose on the pancreas and makes it so that beta cells are significantly more powerful. Basically, it increases the potency of a beta cell in the pancreas by 65%, which means that your body can handle glucose better simply because of this OEA that gets converted from the palmitoleic acid. So long, complicated stuff, but macadamia nuts have some powerful oils in them. Okay, now let's move on to pecans. They make Tier 1. Pecans, 20 halves make up a serving. I like pecans because you can actually eat a fair bit in a serving, okay? Macros, 21 grams of fat, 3 grams of protein, 1.5 grams of carbs. Still almost as good as the mac nuts there. 6 grams of omega-6s in a serving. Not bad, actually. I mean, not great, but not bad. 56% monounsaturated fats. Really good amount there. Low amounts of phytates. Not as low as macadamia nuts, but still really low. So you're still absorbing a lot of the minerals. Omega-3s are actually good, although in the grand scheme of things, very small amounts anyway. So the thing is, I really like pecans because they're easy to digest mechanically. They're a really soft nut. I have issues with irritable bowel, so I like things that are easier to break down. I don't end up feeling like I'm getting disrupted and getting inflamed. So I just made that separate note there. Really good quality nut in that case. Just so that you guys do know, probably one of the best places to get good deals on all the nuts that I have listed here is going to be through Thrive Market. I talk about them in my videos all the time, so it's an online grocery store. But I think the main thing I want to link to here is the fact that I've been able to create keto boxes and fasting boxes, thyroid boxes, basically custom grocery boxes through Thrive Market with my partnership with them. So it's made it so that people that watch my videos, if they say, well, I want to just order the groceries that Thomas would order, I have a keto box or I have a fasting box, things like that. So I have my recommended nuts in them. It makes it really easy. But anyway, Thrive makes it so you can just do all your grocery shopping online and it gets delivered to your doorstep. You don't have to go to the grocery store. Plus, you can lean on experts like myself and some others that create their own boxes to just make it easy for you. All right, so check them out after you watch this video. But now let's go ahead and let's move into tier 2. Okay, then Brazil nuts. We get into tier 2. Okay, nuts in moderation. Brazil nuts. Here's the downside. Only 8 of those suckers in a serving. It's like, okay, I just had a couple hundred calories. 20 grams of fat, not bad. 4 grams of protein, still nice low carb, 1.5. 6 grams of omega-6s. It's still nice and low, which is why it's tier 2. And we start to get a little bit lower on the monounsaturated fats there. So now we're kind of left with less potent fats that are going to be able to have a positive effect on our pancreas, right? High levels of phytates. That's what actually brings this one down quite a bit. Okay, a lot of minerals getting chelated so you don't absorb them because of this. But it makes itself up a little bit with selenium, because selenium is really good to help the thyroid actually T4 convert into T3, so convert active form of thyroid. However, selenium is a mineral that gets somewhat canceled out by the phytic acid. Now we move into walnuts. Walnuts used to be really high on my list. They bumped down a little bit. 15 halves make up a serving, 19 grams of fat, 4.5 grams of protein, 2.5 grams of carbs, 11 grams of omega-6s. They're actually the highest omega-6. They're actually one of the highest omega-3s too, but they have so much omega-6 that it counteracts it. 14% monounsaturated fats, okay, low phytates, which is great. And then I put as a note there, high omega-3, but again, counteracted by the omega-6 because they cancel each other out. Now we move into tier 3, moderation here for sure. Hazelnuts, 13 per serving, 19 grams of fat, 4.5 grams of protein, 2.5 grams of carbs. Really low omega-6s, so that's great. Really pretty high amounts of monounsaturated fat, so you're thinking you're pretty good, but the levels of phytates are so high that they end up breaking it down and bringing it down a peg. They're also a little bit harder to digest. They're a really hard nut. Okay, so it's the lack of the kind of the monounsaturated fats that are in there. It's not a whole lot of palmitoleic, because palmitoleic is unique to macadamia nuts. Long story short, that's why it's in tier 3. Then we have almonds, which people would expect on keto to be higher up. Almond flour, you're gonna see a lot of, but you wanna go with blanched almond flour that doesn't have the skin that has the phytic acids. Straight up almonds, 28 nuts per serving, which is nice. You can eat a lot of them. 17 grams of fat, okay, 17 and a half, 7 grams of protein, good protein amount, and 3 grams of carbs. 4 grams of omega-6s, still pretty low. 63% monounsaturated fats, so fairly stable fats there, but very high phytates once again. It's just, we just want to be careful with those almonds. You will notice you get dehydrated feeling, kind of sickly feeling if you eat a lot of almonds. I put a note there, they're easily accessible. So if you're running out of options, they're easy to get. You can get them at a gas station, you can get them anywhere. Okay, then we move into pistachios, tier 3. 60 nuts in a serving. That's what I like about them. And there's a nice barrier to entry if you get them with the shells. It takes you a long time to eat 60. You're going to have a thumb cramp before you actually fill up on them. Okay, then the macronutrients, you have 15 grams of fat, so pretty low fat. You have 7 grams of protein and 6 grams of carbs. Starting to creep on up there. It adds up. Although, again, it'd be a lot to eat 60 of those just because it takes so much time. 4.5 grams of omega-6s, so really not too bad there. A decent amount of monounsaturated fats, but not amazing, and actually pretty low phytates. So what's really messing us up here is the macronutrient profile. The macronutrients are just not in line. High carb, low fat, it's just not the best nut to be eating on keto. I did make a note there of the barrier to entry is great. Then we get into tier 4, just avoid, okay? Cashews. I hate to break it to you, they're probably the tastiest, but we gotta get rid of them, okay? 23 nuts per serving, but 15 grams of fat, 6 grams of protein, and 10 grams of carbs. Yeah. Okay, pretty low in the grand scheme of the omegas though. The thing is that these macros just throw us aloof. Decent monounsaturated fats, very high phytates, the highest phytic acid, okay? They actually have their own anti-nutrient profile because they're not even a nut, they're a fruit, okay? So because they're a fruit, they have this whole protective mechanism that makes it so you practically absorb nothing from them. And I made a note that they're a fruit. So just avoid the cashews. I know cashew butter's tasty, but avoid it. Peely nuts, here's the thing. Let me back up for a second. Peely nuts, by far, just FYI, just blow all these out of the door. Okay, like boom, like not even a comparison, because peely nuts have like less than a gram of carbs. They have extremely high, like 24, 25 grams of fat. They have a high amount of saturated fat, which is very hard to come by in a nut. They're just, the hard part is I didn't want to list them here because they're not a common nut that you can get at most grocery stores. I will say that a company called Peely Hunters is like the original Peely nut, and they're actually available at Thrive Market too, like I mentioned earlier, so you can get your hands on Peely nuts also through Thrive. So it makes things really, really easy there. I'll do a separate video on Peely nuts. In fact, I have done other videos on Peely nuts, but I can dive deeper into the detail there. They just, honestly, they deserve a video themselves because they're just not as easy to find. But again, you can get them at Thrive. So honorable mention stuff here. I want to talk about seeds, but they kind of deserve their own video again. I want to talk first about flax versus chia, okay? They're in the same league, but flax is going to be a much higher omega-3 content. However, it's important to note that flax is, and the omegas that are in plants, with the exception of algae, are alpha-linoleic acid. They have to go through a conversion process and a fermentation process in your body to actually be usable in the body as omega-3s. So it's a little bit irrelevant. Chia is a little bit better on the fiber side, in my opinion. Flax tends to kind of bloat people and tends to give them a little bit of a gastric disruption, whereas chia seems to be a little bit easier. But let's go ahead and let's rank the seeds via the carb hierarchy here. Number one, best seed to eat as far as carbs are concerned, flax. Then we move into chia. Okay. Then we move into hemp. Then we move into sesame. Then we move into pine nuts, but it's technically a seed still, sunflower, and then pumpkin. I love pumpkin seeds, and honestly, they have one of the richest nutrient profiles, but they're a little bit higher carb, so you just have to do them in moderation. There's a lot more seeds, and trust me, we could go a lot more in depth with this, but usually you're not consuming such copious amounts of these seeds that we need to worry about the omega and the fat profile too much. I just wanted to at least list out the carb situation there. So if you want me to do a more expanded video on seeds or on peeling nuts, put it down in the comment section below. Or if you have questions, you want me to dive deeper into anything I talked about, please let me know in the comment section. And please, if you wouldn't mind, hit that subscribe button. Also check out Thrive Market in the description after you have done what you need to do for the day. All right, I will see you all soon. Thank you very much.